Ba. Week 8 is here. What's up, guys? Yes, how's it going? Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast in your ears right now. Michael Beller here with you. It is Week 8. Week 8 kicks off with the Packers and the Cardinals tonight. 15 games back on the slate after that 13-game week. Feels good to have almost every single team in action, and we are ready to talk through all of those games. I am here with the one and only Brandon Funston. Funston, what's up, my man?
You are setting the enthusiasm bar very high this morning, and luckily I got my coffee. It's a little early in my neck of the woods, but I'll try to catch up. I'm doing well.
Hey, man. You know how it is. 6-month-old, working. I've been up for about, it's 10 a.m. Central Time. I've been up for like 4.5 hours, so I've already had a couple of cups of coffee. I've got the energy flowing, feeling good. Jake Seeley also here with us. Can't do the show without Jake. What's going on, Jake?
What's up? Hopefully you guys are going to do something for Halloween on Sunday. I mean, I wore masks for my shows this week, and then I even wore my Scooby Natural since it's kind of like Halloween-ish shirt. And you guys got nothing going on.
Well, I didn't get the memo that we had to do that for the Thursday show, but I would have.
It's the last show of the week for you, isn't it? Until Sunday.
Yeah,
but Sunday is Halloween.
I know.
Proper.
That's what I said. That's what I said. So you guys better do something on Sunday when you do your
Sunday
little
morning,
show.
Beller. Sunday morning.
Yeah, I was also trying to tease your show for everybody out there.
Nice. Yeah, listen to me and Funston talk through start-sit stuff on every Sunday. Maybe we'll wear some. Jake, didn't you wear like a duck mask or something last year on our Sunday show?
That was Launchpad last year, and then I did Gizmo Duck on the Tuesday show with Chris Meany, and then I actually put the Darth Vader mask on yesterday for that shit. That was very heavy. that like my neck was hurting. Now, funny thing was here's the duck one.
Yeah, isn't it like I remember that mask.
No, you don't. This is the one from Tuesday. That's Gizmo Duck, but I was showing you, like, see how foggy it is inherently? Like, the plastic they used? I was struggling to read everything the entire show. I told Chris when we got off the air, when I took it off, it was like if you've ever gone from a tube television to 4K, like made that kind of a jump, or like I got laser eye surgery. It was the most ridiculous thing.
Pretty easy guess, Beller, even if you don't know, to just say, Jake, didn't you wear something duck? You know?
Yes.
Right? There's some sort of duck involved.
They're all kid-sized, though, because they don't make these costumes for adults.
Yeah, well, maybe you should take that as some sort of a hint in your direction.
Or maybe I'm the one trying to be happy with everything going on, and you guys are a bunch of schmucks.
Either way, we are here and ready to talk Week 8 fantasy football. We're going to do things a little bit differently on this episode. We usually go through position by position. Scrap that. I was writing that sort of script yesterday, and I just felt kind of bored with it. So we're going to go game by game instead of script by script. We're taking this in chronological order, so that means we start with the Thursday night game, Packers and Cardinals. We know the big news with the Packers. No Davante Adams. No Allen Lazard. So let's start first with the quarterback. And Jake, you can take this first. Who starts over Aaron Rodgers? Who can you see someone having in addition to Aaron Rodgers and then starting that person over Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, well, so for everybody out there, if you're listening on a Friday or after, just skip ahead 5 minutes. So
That's true.
I'll tell you right now, I have him at 14, and mostly because you could start Matt Ryan, Ryan Tannehill, the Ryans, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, although Daniel Jones definitively has the lower floor. There's no question. If you don't want to risk the Daniel Jones 4-point game, then you don't start Daniel Jones. And then up from there, the highest I would even go is 10. There's no way, and we'll talk about a lot of these guys, but there's no way I'm starting Rodgers without the majority of his weapons over Burrow, Herbert, Stafford, Brady, and then just keep going up from there. That's really what it comes down to. Somebody was like, well, what about the defense? And why didn't you have him higher? That was even before the J.J. Watt injury. And he's like, well, because still, they don't turn the ball over. Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw interceptions. And if they just lean on Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon the entire game, and yes, some of those might be coming from passes from Aaron Rodgers, but still, part of what's carried him, and it's funny because I've also been sitting there telling people, don't hate on Aaron. I need to improve my quarterback. I hate Aaron Rodgers. He's scored 19-plus points in every single game since week 1. He's been top 6, 7 since week 1. Yes, week 1 was gross, but he's been great, but he's also been very efficient, and that's the concern here in this game is that he doesn't get a Tannehill Burrow type of game.
Yeah, weirdly, I heard the stat this week, and I haven't actually confirmed it, but I think in the previous 3 seasons, Davante Adams has missed 7 games, and Aaron Rodgers actually averaged higher fantasy points in those games than the games where Davante Adams was in there. I mean, it's a small sample size, and I don't lend a whole lot of credence, and I don't know how many times he was down as top 2 targets in that respect, but I think I have him 13 right now. And Daniel Jones is the one that I have ranked in front of him. Sometimes I rank guys ahead of people on my rankings that I maybe wouldn't do that in real life. I think Daniel Jones and Aaron Rodgers, if I'm sitting there, as much as I love that Monday night matchup, I might just opt for the safe floor of Aaron Rodgers if I'm pulling the trigger. But in the rankings, I don't want to miss out on Daniel Jones just going totally ham on Monday night and the potential for the rushing yards and just a shootout, mostly by the Chiefs side, but the Giants trying to play, catch up along the way.
Well, here's the problem with that is, do you risk it? Because, we might find out Saturday that there's no Galladay, there's no Shepard, and they're down to Slayton and
definitely
Tony Pettis
another
again.
part of it for sure.
Yeah, Slayton. But so for what it's worth, this line was at Cardinals -3, Cardinals -3.5. Then we got the news about Adams, jumped to 6.5 once it was reposted, and that's still where it is. For what it's worth, last 2 years, 6 games without Davante Adams. Packers are 5-1 against the spread in those games. That includes 2-0 as dogs, and both of those were outright victories for the Packers. So let's not just go right off the Packers just yet in this game tonight. Jake, let's hear the case for Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Is it as simple as who else is he going to throw to?
No, it is and it isn't. I have him inside my 30s, but the real comes down to is a comparison. I don't know if I was talking to Chris. I don't think it was you guys. I don't know, whatever it was. It's the Fulgham comparison. And I wasn't saying it as in to be like, haha, I told you guys about Fulgham because I went to ODU. But I knew about Fulgham because I went to ODU. That's part of the reason. But
sure.
I'm saying that to set up, I was, and people know this, I'm the ODU. I love Travis Fulgham. I love to see Heineke doing well. I love to see Pascal popping up. But I was also one of the first people to say, get the hell away from Travis Fulgham as soon as defenses treat him as the number one. Mm-hmm. Now, I say that to say Marquez Valdez-Scantling is the better talent than Fulgham, but I still have concerns of him being the number one. What happens when he has the number one attention with nobody else except for Randall Cobb now that Alan Lazard is out? So you're talking about, if he plays, Valdez-Scantling, Cobb, and Equanimeous St. Brown are the top three. There's their breaking news?
No. I was alerting Funston more than you. Keep going with this.
Telling me to shut up. Yeah.
No. It's okay. So if there's breaking news, put the finger up. If there's the hold, give him the hold sign. So
hand for news. Finger
hand for news. Okay.
Fingers
all
for
right.
me next.
Well, now that I know that going forward, so yeah, I put him in the 30s. Could he have a top 20 finish? Absolutely, but. Could he be like Darius Slayton? That's who I would compare it to last week, because Darius Slayton finishes wide receiver 50, 3 for 40. Sure. Could he also finish inside the top 20 because he says 10 targets? Sure.
All right. Yeah. The reason I put the finger up because I just want to keep things moving. So we're just going to jump right to the next topic. We had a pretty big gulf in terms of someone on the other side of this game at the running back position. So let's go head to head, you guys, on James Conner. Brandon's at RB23, Jake down at RB30. Brandon, let's hear the pro Conner case.
Yeah, it's a bet on a touchdown with James Conner. You're going to get 60 yards. I guess his last 2 games are his best rushing yard games, and you're starting to feel good about mid-teens touches. But it's a bet on a touchdown. But he's the number 1 touchdown scorer on one of the top offensive teams in the league, and a team that's number 3 in red zone possessions per game. So I think while it's it's a little bit of Latavius Murray, you're either getting 60 yards and a touchdown or 60 yards and no touchdown. I think James Conner, and we had 6 touchdowns in his last 5 games, is a really good bet to score a touchdown most weeks. And so he's RB 17 on the season, heavily weighted on those touchdowns. I'm ranking at RB 23 this week, with a little bit of the there is a possibility he won't score a touchdown.
Yeah, look, I don't mind because I'm the one that says back crap crazy in the preseason. You remember that for people who had the gulf as big as it was between them. Yep. Here's my concern, and here's my only pushback, is it is very touchdown-based because Edmonds last week out-carried James Conner in that game against Houston, which tells me a little bit of can it really be we would expect this to be a slaughtering and they should just be able to roll out there and be fine, but what if it's not? Then you see a 50-50 split. And even though it was a slaughtering like we just saw,
week,
Edmonds got more carries. That's the thing is I just don't want to bank on that. I don't hate him where I have him, but I have both Denver guys in front of him, Booker in front of him, Zach Moss in front of him. If you wanted to say I'll go Conner over those, I think this group falls into the same conversation. So That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, big tier running backs that we're talking about here, and that's just the case every single week. But that's the pro and the con for James Conner. I'll be starting him in at least one league, so hopefully Brandon ends up being right on this one. Let's move on to our next game. So now we're looking at the Sunday games that kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we start with Panthers and Falcons. If you're watching us on YouTube, you see what I've written on the screen. No surprises in Panthers and Falcons, and that's what by that I mean. Are you starting any of the non-obvious guys, or are you sitting any of the seemingly obvious guys, Jake?
No, who's obvious?
So
you're starting
Pitts,
Cordell,
Ridley, George, DJ Moore,
Cordell Patterson, and Chuba Hubbard,
Patterson,
and that's it. That's that five. Yeah, that's it.
And that's it.
No, I'm saying that's it. Don't screw around with the rest. That's the end of it. If you still have Robbie Anderson, just stop playing fantasy football because you should have dropped him like 10 weeks ago. And Russell Gage, I mean, maybe if you're dead, I'd actually take the chance on Russell Gage over Robbie Anderson at this point. I include in the waiver column the unrealized air yards, and people are like, well, maybe it doesn't mean that much when you see Robbie Anderson. No, it's part of a puzzle. You have to take the quarterback play into account, and that's why Corey Davis is way up the list, and Elijah Moore is way up the list despite missing games. Is like, yes, the quarterback play is a factor. So you can't even start Mike Davis right now. And I don't want to drop Mike Davis, but now he's down in the next men up kind of conversation. He's not even a starter at this point.
Yeah, we can keep things moving because, I have a couple of these options that I could start this week, and I don't disagree. The one thing I wanted to do is to look up and see if Robbie Anderson has a historically low catch percentage for someone who, among all players that have had at least 49 targets in a season. It's got to be up there. He's at 18 catches and 49 targets. It's as bad as I've ever seen. But anyways, we can move on.
Can't catch uncatchable targets.
Look at Barkley catching some treats right there. Looking good. Looking good, pup. We gotta love that. Matt, any love for Matt Ryan?
How's your namesake in New York looking this week?
Who knows?
Matt Ryan,
wait for it. Oh yeah, Matt Ryan. You can start Matt Ryan.
Yeah, but
I'd start Matt Ryan over Aaron Rodgers if you had that choice. Somebody might have that choice.
Yeah, Funston, would you start Matt Ryan over Aaron Rodgers this week?
I think I have Aaron Rodgers one ahead of him. I'm trying to. Yeah, they're right next to each other.
Yeah,
hard not to have those guys. Yeah, hard not to have those guys right in line with one another. So we're expecting no real surprises. Certainly no pre-game, do this, don't do that sort of surprises in Panthers and Falcons, which leads us into our next game, and that is Dolphins and Bills. Tua Tagovailoa, you guys, has had two very nice games in a row, two very nice fantasy games, one pretty decent real-life game as well. So the question here, in this matchup against the Bills, 2 touchdown underdogs, Funston, you take this one first. How playable is Tua?
I think he's playable because, you look at what the Bills have done in this matchup. They've won by 30 plus each of their last 2 times. They played week 17 of last year where Tua played, and it was 56-26, and Tua threw 58 times. And then in week 2, Tua got hurt this year. Jacoby Brissett came in after Tua threw 4 passes and threw another 40 passes. He didn't score, but that, the whole thing is, as we always say, volume, volume, volume. It's not quite exactly always the same for quarterbacks as it is for the other skill positions, but Tua's thrown 40-plus passes each of the last 2 weeks, and that's kind of where they're at. And I think you're going to expect 40 to 50 passes in this one. And because of that, he's absolutely playable. I mean, it doesn't mean he's going to throw for 3 touchdowns, but, you're going to get decent yardage, most likely, in the narrative that they're once again chasing the scoreboard in the Bills.
And sure, don't disagree. Even in that game, you combine Tua and Brissett, and you still don't. You get 10 fantasy points in that game.
But that's like almost all Brissett, and that was he was just thrown in with no expectation to.
No. I get that, but I'm saying like so. The other game that we look at is it took Patrick Mahomes 54 attempts, and he was still not even a great Patrick Mahomes game against them. So I'm just talking about the Bills' defense. And the Bills' defense has allowed 5? Let me check. 5, yes, 5 passing touchdowns on the season. 2 were to Mahomes. Tyler Heinicke actually had the other good game against them. That's the only. But he also had a rushing touchdown and 2 picks.
Yeah, I have Tua at quarterback 19. So I mean, playable. I think top 20 is what you would consider playable. And once you start getting outside the top 20, so I don't know where you have him, Jake, but. If you don't have him top 20, then I would say you
I am 21, and people tell me I'm stupid. That's why I was going with this. And they're also like, he's rushing. It's like, no, he's not. He's running like 20 yards. Like, 20 yards is a half of a touchdown. Sure, that's nice, but okay.
Don't tell Jake he's stupid. Come on.
I'm used to it at this point.
All right, next guy I want to talk about, TAFFP, the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast, loving on Myles Gaskin. You guys are both in the high 20s on him, meaning like RB21, RB22, and compared to the consensus, which we know it's always shifting and everyone hasn't updated their rankings, but whatever, the consensus is about 10 spots lower than you guys. So let's hear it. Let's hear it. Jake, you take it first. Let's hear this big pro Gaskin case.
No, I'm getting Shanahan, but I'm getting Shanahan as the coach, as I'm being forced into a corner. That's really what it comes down to. That's the way I'm getting Shanahan here, is that I kept saying 2 weeks ago, sell high on Gaskin coming off that game against the Bucs. And then last week happened, and because of like the game script going what we didn't really expect, and because of the pass happy, as Brandon was talking about, and then the injury in game to Malcolm Brown, we had another good Gaskin game. And I was like, all right, you get ready to sell high. But then as soon as we finished the show on Monday, like 30 minutes later, Malcolm Brown goes on IR. Yeah. So I'm being forced into a corner here. Now it's only two guys. It's what we want from the Patriots. It's what we want from the 49ers. It's what we want from a lot of backfields. If you could just tell it's only two guys, then I'm going to take the one in the lead and the one who's also used in the passing game, which this would have been a favorable game script for Gaskin to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, amazingly, in the last 3 weeks, he's RB9, and he had like a nothing effort in one of those games. And in that game, they had nothing. It was Malcolm Brown had 25 snaps. So, again, like Malcolm, because
that was a run heavy game.
It was a run heavy game. So even now, if it's a run heavy game, we know Myles Gaskin is likely to lead that charge. So, but it's not going to be a run heavy game. And Myles Gaskin is one of the best receiving running backs in terms of like expectations for receptions. So, yeah, that's basically what it's all about. It's basically the same as what Jake said. Malcolm Brown, get out of the picture.
Get out of here. Get out
of our way.
All Myles Gaskin all day here. Bears and 49ers. I know no one really wants to talk about this game, but we're doing them all. So let's talk about this. Let me just say, my friends will tell you guys, I am the farthest thing from a Bears optimist. I pretty much always assume the worst is going to happen to this franchise. Plus 4.5 at home against a 49ers team that really hasn't shown us anything feels a little sketchy to me. Brandon, rest of season expectations for Elijah Mitchell.
TBD on what Jeff Wilson's role will be when he's active.
Don't care.
Okay, good. I have Elijah Mitchell. I'm feeling pretty good about him right now. My only real concern
Bears tie-in.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically the new Raheem Mostert, and so like even if someone does mix into there, because eventually Shanahan's going to want a Shanahan, but even if that happens, Elijah Mitchell should be the lead guy going forward for as long as he can stay healthy. So my expectations are, this is the DNA as a running team. And I think he's going to put up good numbers for as long as he can stay healthy. A lot of like 15 to 18 carry games in the 70, 80, 90, 100-yard range.
All right, Jake, we heard your don't care there. You can keep going if you want, though.
No, I was just going to say, it's the same thing with Elijah Mitchell, but I still wouldn't take him out of RB2 range because he's not full Mostert, and the fact that Hasty's the pass-catching running back. He made that clear last week. It was like all Hasty on the pass-catching downs. The reason I say Jeff Wilson is because they keep saying maybe November or maybe in a few weeks. He's not even close.
They haven't
that
in a
while. Does full Mostert have to be a pass-catching back? Because I don't remember Raheem Mostert putting up
No. But full Mostert was like 80% of the touches. Like
Mostert was like a target and a half per game.
You're right. He was like Nick Chubb, but they weren't passing as much. He wasn't losing as much as the clear and snaps too. That's what I'm talking about. It's like 80% of the snaps, even with the passing downs, is like you're worried about the touches. Mostert was around 20 touches. Yeah. The thing with Elijah Mitchell, he's around 15, 16. So it's not bad. I'm just saying Mostert was an RB1. Let's not forget. That's what the difference is.
I wish we could be seeing full Mostert in the form of Raheem Mostert this season. I mean, I had him on like 90%. I was just, you guys remember the summer. It was glorious. It was warm. And Raheem Mostert was just going to be the savior for all my fantasy teams. And now here we are. Khalil Herbert locked in until Montgomery's return. Is this simple? We just move on?
I don't think
just
it's
locked
simple.
in as a fantasy starter.
Well, I think it's more that he's locked in and maybe not going to let Montgomery return to full Montgomery. We're not going to do the full Monty when he comes back. So, look, man, I mean, why would you? Why would you?
No. I'm just. That's your joke.
I think it was
that's
the joke, not the
okay.
fantasy analysis.
I thought the joke was pretty good. Yeah, would you see like maybe the Nick Chubb Kareem Hunt kind of workload split? I think I'd see something like that. I mean, Chicago obviously is wanting to run as much as Cleveland does, and so maybe it works out to something like that, but with less offensive snaps in general. I'm
tentatively optimistic. I mentioned it. I think we talked about it on Monday. a little hesitant the fact that David Williams might not have been 100% feeling healthy coming off COVID. Like, I believe Herbert's shown everything. Again, and I say this to say, not the victory lap, to say I am a Herbert fan if you look at what I wrote about him in the draft profile. And I'm still hesitant. I have Herbert way ahead of Damian Williams. I just don't know if one game, Damian Williams' first game back, is enough to say, yes, he is locked in and this isn't a split. And I say that to only say this: don't drop Damian Williams yet.
Yeah. I think that's totally a fair way to look at this, and nothing over Matt Nagy's head coaching career should suggest to us that he can be trusted to do the right thing.
Can we get him fired this week? Like,
No.
Hey, well, he's out, right?
The Bears don't do that. The Bears don't pay two coaches at the same time. They are not firing Matt Nagy midseason. That's simply just not going to happen. So I think the best we can hope for in terms of
after Pittsburgh going into the bye, can fire him.
No, I think the best we can hope for fantasy wise from the Bears is that by Monday, right, or Tuesday, they find somewhere to trade Allen Robinson to, because that's really all we can hope for.
That's the only reason I would hold on to Allen Robinson at this point.
Please find a taker, because he's not going to be back in Chicago next year. So let's just go ahead and find a taker for Allen Robinson. But that's where things stand with 49ers and Bears going into this week. Whether you've been in a relationship for years or you're just getting started, having the confidence that comes from preparation means you're free to enjoy the moment when the moment comes. Go to GetRoman.com/fantasy now to speak with a U.S. licensed healthcare professional about erectile dysfunction and get $15 off your first month of treatment. Roman Ready is confidence personified. It is the self-assurance that comes from knowing you've prepared yourself for the moment when intimacy arrives. Roman's system is completely confidential, totally discreet, no big logos or labels on the packages. U.S. licensed healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan, and if medication is appropriate, it ships to you free with 2-day shipping. The whole process is straightforward, convenient, and discreet. Getting started is simple. Just go to GetRoman.com/fantasy and complete an online visit. Take care of your ED without leaving home. Complete an online visit today to connect with a U.S. licensed healthcare professional and take care of it. Go to GetRoman.com/fantasy today, and if you're prescribed, get $15 off your first month of ED treatment. Make sure you're ready and have confidence and control this fall. Roman Ready. Cuts Clothing. Cuts Clothing is super, super comfortable, you guys. We've gotten some of this free. It's been awesome. It's super comfortable. And what I love about it is that it doesn't require us to choose between, comfort and style. Cuts nails that exactly. Can be as flexible as we are. In 2016, Cuts founder Stephen Borelli felt boxed in by his wardrobe, hated having to compromise between style and comfort. Don't we all? So he decided to do something about it and started with reinventing the humble plain tee. The result? A tee that GQ calls the only shirt worth wearing. Stylish enough for the boardroom or the street, comfortable enough for workouts in the gym or nights out at the club. And hey, it's been seen on guys like Patrick Mahomes, Damian Lillard, Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's going to win an MVP maybe this year. You can be an MVP of style with Cuts. It's not just a lifestyle. It's not just clothing. It's work leisure apparel for the sport of business. Get 15% off your first order at cutsclothing.com/fantasy. That's cutsclothing.com/fantasy for 15% off your first order. Next game up on the list, just talking about this Cleveland Browns backfield. Steelers and Browns. This is an interesting one, you guys. The Browns are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 42.5. We're not exactly sure what to expect from this Browns offense with some of these guys coming back from injury. I mean, when you look at this game, Funston, what jumps out at you? What are your expectations for how this game ultimately ends up being played?
I would be tempted to take the under here. You have – I think you're just going to see a lot of Najee Harris and Nick Chubb, and it's going to be a decent war of attrition. I mean, who are you hanging your hat on in the Cleveland passing game right now?
Nope.
No one. I mean, I think you still feel good about Deontay Johnson. He gets targets when he's healthy. Chase Claypool, I still rank him pretty good. I think Pittsburgh's going to probably end up having to throw, and I think there's a limited ceiling to a guy like Chase Claypool, but I think he's going to get the targets, and I'll play the James Conner game where maybe I bet on lean towards a touchdown with him as well.
Yeah,
Jake,
there's nothing I would trust in the passing game for the
Browns.
I mean,
are any Browns startable other than Chubb?
I say Landry is a low-end wide receiver 3. It's still every time he's the main option, even with Beckham out there, he's the main option. Like it's that kind of workload. So, yeah, I'd say Landry, but it's low end. Outside of that, forget about the rest of the Browns. Even Dearness Johnson, I know a lot of people would try. I wouldn't, not with Nick Chubb back.
Holding Dearness Johnson though until we see what his role is alongside Chubb.
Absolutely, no question about it. You can't. You definitely can't. And then if anything were to happen to Nick Chubb again, I mean, like, what if he goes out there and aggravates the injury? I'm actually surprised people are as low as they are on Nick Chubb this week. I know it's not a favorable matchup, but without Kareem Hunt, and I know Dearness Johnson just showed out and looked great, but let's be real, he's not Kareem Hunt. And the biggest factor about it too is Dearness Johnson replicates Chubb more so in the fact that not a ton in the passing game. So Nick Chubb, 20 touches? I 20 touches even against Pittsburgh.
He's going to have more than 20, don't you think? I mean, I would take over like 24 and a half touches for Chubb.
It's like it might be conservative. Najee versus Nick show here.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what this has the feeling of. And Najee versus Nick Chubb, I think, is a little bit more interesting than Eagles versus Lions. Lions are a public home dog. They're catching 3.5 at home, which I was all ready to be like, all right, I can get on board with this. Then I saw that you've got 50+% of people picking the Lions straight up to win, which just makes me run for the hills and want to bet the Eagles -3.5 because Lions as a public home dog is very, very scary to me. But that's what we're looking at in this game. Brandon, let's hear the case for starting Boston Scott in fantasy leagues.
Why me? Did I send you some rankings that made it look like I was actually high on Boston
I
Scott?
believe you both have him as RB31. I'm
RB33 now, but yeah, it was, I mean, even still, that's the range I have them in. Look,
I fell to 37 with my update this morning.
Yeah.
It's the Jordan Howard factor.
Yeah. Oh, the Jordan Howard. That's right. Yeah, Jordan Howard has been activated. But look, I have the Lions winning their first game. I think they'll beat the Eagles. They've been.
You're part of the public here.
Yeah. Look, this was not a good backfield with Miles Sanders. And so I guess the case is we saw him get the goal line carries. They might trust him a little bit more as the main ball carrier, so maybe he leads and carries here, and they still want to keep Kenneth Gainwell in the role they've been using him in, so they don't give Gainwell a huge bump. I mean, that's your case. It's the Detroit Lions, but the Detroit Lions aren't actually a terrible run defense. You look at the DVOA rankings on Football Outsiders, it's just the fact like the Jets. I mean, the Jets are a worse run defense, but when you're a bad team, you get high volume against you in the running game. And so running backs, they're one of the most run-on teams in the league. But when they've played competitive games, they've actually had a couple good outings like Baltimore. And I'm just drawing a blank on who they played last week. The Rams, like Daryl Henderson. Yeah. They played that game competitively. Daryl Henderson didn't do anything. So if this game's competitive, Philadelphia's already been a bad running team. So I don't know that they're just going to, this is that great of a matchup for them.
Jake, I noticed in your rankings column that among your sells was Jalen Hurts. So what's the case for that?
It just really comes down to fourth quarter. Like, that's all of his production. And I'm not saying it can't continue. And Jalen Hurts, I think is a sell and a buy. You have both sides of it. It's similar to the Javonte Williams situation. If you can get, the reason I said sell is because a lot of people didn't draft Jalen Hurts as their only quarterback, or sometimes he was even the second quarterback for some people. So if you fell into a Stafford Hurts, and somebody's out there, even my home league, who bring my rankings to my draft, still has multiple teams in my home. No, I'm saying this to say, I have multiple teams in my home league with 2 quarterbacks. I have one team with 3 quarterbacks. So people still do this. Yep. But I'm saying there might be people out there because of that. There is a team in our league that's still been starting Tyler Haneke the past couple weeks. So you might have somebody that needs a quarterback. On the flip side, I see everybody talking about he's going to get benched for Gardner Minshew. I'm not going to have a quarterback anymore. And those are the ones that you go buy Hurts. So he's actually a buy and a sell.
Those were actually the voices in your head during your dreams, Jake.
Yeah. Is there a coherent case whatsoever for the Eagles benching Jalen Hurts for their second year quarterback when they're 2-5?
I know. I already said when it's going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's week 17 and 18 because they say we're giving up on Jalen Hurts. Let's see if we want to keep Gardner Minshew around behind,
or maybe
like what
they did with Wentz.
Right.
I think you examine everybody from an offensive skill position with a kind of a more traditional offense, and then you decide on who you like.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not going to happen to week 17 or 18, and you're in your championship game. If you're that scared about you losing your quarterback or your championship game, maybe. But guess what? You got to the championship game. So.
Yeah, and then you just pick up Minshew and ride Minshew Mania to a championship, right?
Hey, I rode Billy Volek to a championship that one year.
Billy Volek, man. Yeah. That Billy Volek, Drew Bennett connection all those years ago.
See, there you go. We got a comment in here. Somebody has Dak and Hurts. Go trade Hurts.
Yeah, there you go. You took me down that Volek, Drew Bennett memory lane, which was awesome. So awesome. Colts Titans. Speaking of Billy Volek and Drew Bennett, Colts Titans. Jonathan Taylor, you're RB9 this week, Jake. RB3, I believe, for Funston. He's a top 5 running back. So, you're obviously starting him and feeling good, but why so low relative to where he's been and where most people think he's going to be?
I do hate him. Just the names in front of him. It's just nothing to do with it. And Marlon Mack, his last chance possibly with this team, but is not going away. Nyheim Hines keeps getting involved. And then it's just names in front of him. Nick Chubb, we just talked about Pittsburgh. If you want to say Taylor over, I'm not going to argue that one that much more. But I'm going Ezekiel Elliott against Minnesota. Aaron Jones tonight against Arizona, because this could be the Aaron Jones where he finishes number 1 with 40 points type of week. Of course, he's got the lower floor. Make that clear. Alvin Kamara against Tampa Bay, I'm still playing. But Tampa Bay has not been as good as it has been against the run, specifically also in the passing game. And if they're going to, use Kamara in the passing game like they did this past week and say, oh, my God, he's still good in the passing game?
He's still
what a shock.
What a novel concept.
I would still go Kamara barely, and the biggest one that's probably the biggest gap I have is Daryl Henderson against Houston. Everybody's panicking over last week with what happened with Daryl Henderson. It was a game script that nobody expected. They didn't expect Detroit to get out to a lead and pull an onside kick and all that type of stuff.
2 fake punts.
Everybody was ranking Daryl Henderson inside the top 5 last week against Detroit, and now he's getting Houston this week, so he's still top 5.
All right, Funston, over to you here. Are we sitting Julio Jones? Is that something that's going on?
I'm giving him a courtesy rank as a wide receiver 3 if he's playing, but that's just basically just respect to Julio Jones and the fact that he's a physical freak and has the potential to do something special. But I'm trying to sit him. I don't have him anywhere, but I imagine most of the people that I ranked around him that get decent volume, I'm gonna probably lean that way.
I'm the 39. Why do you love Julio Jones?
I actually think 39. I'm at like 33 or so. I don't know.
39 suggests that you are also going to be sitting him in most spots.
Okay, I'm going to steal some. I don't even see if it's on the schedule. Would you start Tyler Lockett or Julio Jones, Brandon?
Oh, you know what? I think I would start Julio Jones just because I think that if something's going to happen that's a big play, I'd rather take it as Julio Jones off of a play action, threat of Derrick Henry.
You didn't edit my rankings this week because you would know that Tyler Lockett is my sleeper chase the river play of the week if going against the Jaguars. 7 wideouts to score 12 points against them. Big play happening.
It just takes 2 to tango, and that's Geno Smith right there.
Exactly. That offense looking incompetent.
No, but here, real quick. I'm sorry to sidebar here. So I don't know if we're talking Seattle, so we could just say it, but it's like the 12, there's 7 wide receivers, Funston, that have scored 12 points against them. Here are Jalen Waddle, Tyler Boyd, Christian Kirk, Danny Amendola are 4 of them. Do you sense a theme? Do you sense it?
They're all slot guys.
Yes. Tyler Lockett almost 40% of the time in the slot. I'm just saying, it's not going to be Freddie Swain.
Have you seen Geno Smith drop back, look over the middle,
I have.
try to process
That's the
throws?
point.
He just holds on to the ball and he doesn't
I'm just
throw
saying,
it.
Tyler Lockett for a full game versus Julio Jones for a half. I'm just saying, we'll make that. Could this be our week $8 bet? Tyler Lockett versus Julio Jones?
There we go. Beautiful. There it is. And you totally railroaded us from talking about Carson Wentz and Ryan Tannehill. We're going to jump to our next game.
I did.
This is
who cares?
admittedly a week head-to-head. I'm going to come right out and say it. But we talk about Michael Carter every week, so let's talk about him again. Jake versus Brandon here. And you both like him enough, but I guess we got to hear the positive and the negative. So, Jake, make the positive.
I would rank him even a little bit higher if definitively Ty Johnson or Tevin Coleman were out. They're both iffy right now, but Ty Johnson's use mostly in the passing game when his work, and he is getting some of those goal line carries, which we talked about before. It's just a weird mix to usually be a pass catcher and the goal line back combined, and then the other guys kind of seeing the more volume. But Michael Carter's seeing the volume, and Michael Carter was a lot in the passing game himself. It's against Cincinnati's defense, who's been pretty good, especially against the run. Yeah. But this is mostly because I do expect Tevin Coleman or Ty Johnson to be a non-factor in this game. One of those two, if we knew in both of them, and then who they're touring, Michael Pirine is the next man up. I would actually put Michael Carter probably inside my top 20. I'd put him in. I'd play him over Alex Collins if Pirine was the number 2.
This is crushing my soul to have to go against Michael Carter. I guess the thing would be he's. He hasn't rushed for 60 yards yet this year. His 8-catch, 67 receiving yards game last week is a complete anomaly compared to the rest of the season. Just 2 touchdowns on the year. I mean, a lot of this is just like the Taylor argument for Jake, because there's a lot of guys that I just saw the upside a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, and he just fell to the backside. But I like Michael Carter.
We all know you like Michael Carter, but it's good to get put in an uncomfortable position every now and again on this show. Jake, let's hear the case for Corey Davis playing with Joe Flacco.
No, Mike White.
Mike White.
Mike White.
Mike White.
Yeah. Mike White's the start of this week because it can't be worse than Zach Wilson. Legitimately.
Can it not? Can it for sure not?
I mean, honestly, no, because Zach Wilson is the most uncatchable quarterback in the NFL. So at worst, he's the most uncatchable quarterback in the NFL, that being Mike White. So that's why I said it can't get worse. He can only be the worst catchable quarterback in the NFL. Against Cincinnati, a little bit better against the run than they are the pass. And here's the biggest thing of why it's Corey Davis. We keep hammering this volume. Does anybody expect the Jets not to be playing from behind? And that's really what it comes down to. Is like,
it's true.
So if you're going to give me 7-8 targets for Corey Davis, which is expected, yeah, top 35. Where I have him at 33, which is I can't believe he's outside the top 40. Like, but I have him ahead of Tyler Lockett there, Brandon. So there you go.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one ahead of Tyler Lockett. All right, Funston, I made you argue for Boston Scott. You didn't really want to do that. I made you argue against Michael Carter. You didn't really want to do that. I know you love this case. Let's hear it for Samaje Perine.
Yeah, okay. This is pretty easy. In week 1 against the Jets, Christian McCaffrey handled 30 touches. And it's the only game, that Carolina game, that 2 running backs haven't scored double-digit fantasy points, half PPR, against the Jets. I talked about this earlier. Jake said it. Does anybody expect the Bengals to be playing from behind? No, because the Jets are always playing from behind, and they always get high volume against them. And Samaje Perine's put up double-digit touches each of the last 2 weeks, scored touchdowns. We've seen him involved in the passing game as well. It should be another double-digit touch game for Perine. Decent chance to score in garbage time. And if he doesn't score double-digit fantasy points, he'll be the first secondary back to not score double digits since week 1 against the Jets.
So Samaje Perine or Mike Davis?
Samaje Perine.
That's a fun one.
I'm going Perine. If they're on my team together, I'm sitting Davis. I'm not even giving it a second thought.
And what a great spot for the Bengals to take it easy on Joe Mixon, too, right? I mean, he's been dealing with some nagging injuries. This could be a great – I mean, he's going to play, obviously, but if they get up 24-0, right, what a great spot for them to just take it easy on them and coast into a victory. 10.5-point favorites last I saw are the Bengals on there. I actually saw the Bengals. I wish I saw who tweeted this out this morning because I want to give them credit. I didn't see it, though.
I did.
The Bengals have never won a game as a double-digit road favorite. Never.
Oh, wow.
It's never covered as a double-digit road favorite. They've won, but they've never covered as a double-digit road favorite.
So
in their history,
I'm just kidding.
In their entire history, they've never covered as a double-digit road favorite. So this could, a little bit of gambling history potentially for the Bengals in this game, and I feel like they could get there against the Jets. Simply Safe, the system that U.S. News and World Report names Best Home Security System of 2021, just launched their new wireless outdoor security camera. This brand new outdoor security camera is engineered with all the advanced tech and security features you want and also need to help keep you and your family safe. Has an ultra-wide 140-degree field of view, so you can keep watch over your entire yard. Got 1080p HD resolution with an 8x zoom, so you can really see everything that's going on. Zoom in, catch license plates, catch faces, all things like that. It's also easy to remove. Got a rechargeable battery, which is very nice. You don't have to worry about finding an outlet to plug it in. It's got a built-in spotlight with color night vision as well. So really, you got total coverage, day or night, zooming in, recharging it very easily. It's really a total package here. To learn more about the exciting new Simply Safe wireless outdoor security camera, visit simplysafe.com/athletic. What's more, Simply Safe is celebrating this new camera by offering 20% off your entire new system and your first month of monitoring service free when you enroll in interactive monitoring. Again, that is simplysafe.com/athletic. All right, let's get over to Babbel also because it's fun to learn a new language, right? It's intimidating, but it's also fun, and Babbel knows that. Babbel is the system that makes it fun. That's why it's the #1 selling language learning app. Whether you want to learn a new language for an upcoming trip or as an engaging new hobby, Babbel teaches bite-sized language lessons for real-world use. Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans. Babbel's lessons were created by over 100 language experts. Their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective when you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and accent. There's so many ways to learn with Babbel. In addition to just those lessons, you can also access podcasts, games, video stories, and even live classes. It also comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee. Start your new language learning journey today with Babbel. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. That's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com and use the promo code FANTASY. That's BABBEL.com, code FANTASY, and you're going to get 3 months on top of your 3 for free. All right, guys, let's get into Texans and Rams. No word as of yet if Tyrod is going to be the starter. Does anything change for you guys? I mean, I guess something has to, but Jake, like
yes.
Brandon Cooks, for example, like what happens to Brandon Cooks if Tyrod's the starter?
I mean, slight uptick. The thing was Brandon Cooks is, like, okay, 2 bad games. For what we were talking about in the preseason, and everybody was getting Brandon Cooks as a wide receiver 3. Some people were getting him a wide receiver 4. Guess what? Not everybody can be Devontae Adams and never put up fewer than 9 fantasy points. There's a reason there's about 7 wide receivers in that range. So I don't understand how we go from loving Brandon Cooks' value to hating him all of a sudden just
Davis
because
Mills,
of
I think, is how we do that.
But that's the thing is, like, go back. Davis Mills in a 4-interception downpour still got Brandon Cooks to have a good game that week because of volume. So Tyrod Taylor would obviously help him, but I think Tyrod just does more for the team as a whole. Like, Brandon Cooks is still a wide receiver 3. Does he get to fringe wide receiver 2 with Tyrod? Probably, absolutely. But this is more about maybe Nico can get some value, maybe the backfield can have some value now that you got one more out of the equation if Philip Lindsay comes back to relevancy. So that's really it does. It just helps the team.
Yeah. Tyrod, obviously a huge upgrade there. This could also be an upgrade in terms of matchup for Tyler Higby on the other side. We know everything else to expect with the Rams. Funston, we've seen tight ends get going against the Texans really in every game this season. Is it finally Tyler Higby's turn?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Tyler's been fine. You know, like
He's been fine.
He's been fine. Like, but how smashed do you think this is going to be? Like, if you're
like Goddard's passed him by, Gesicki's passed him by, Dawson Knox before he got hurt. Like, Higby has, I would say, from where he was at the start of the season to where he is now, has fallen.
Right,
yes.
But like, how many people have both of those guys? I'm just trying to think. Like, okay, so who would be a tight end that I have ranked higher than Higby this week that I might have 2 of? You know, and I was looking maybe Hunter Henry, or maybe I had Higby early in the year, or. Because Gronkowski wasn't drafted in a lot of leagues.
No,
you know?
but you might have picked up Jared Cook, and I would still go Higby over Cook at this point. Like, you might have picked up Cook because Higby was disappointed. Real quick, not to I want to hammer this point home, and I mentioned a lot in the matchups. The reason why tight ends do well against Houston is because they have been top 4 this entire year. Face teams that have cover 2 as their primary defense and pass coverage. That is where you get tight ends to exploit them every single week.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I have Higby 8 or 9 this week, and like maybe Hunter Henry is like the one guy that I might have, like someone has a team that has Higby and Hunter Henry.
Would you go Ricky Seals-Jones or Higby?
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm going Higby.
Okay.
How about you, Jake?
I have Higby, but I have Ricky Seals-Jones still in my top 12.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Hunter Henry, let's get on to the game that he's going to be playing in. Actually, I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. Revenge game for Hunter Henry, Patriots and the Chargers. Last time we saw the Chargers, you guys, putting up 6 points against the Ravens. How strongly are we feeling about a bounce back for this team in this spot, Jake?
11 billion. I mean, really, they had a week to get right too. On top of it, it's the, if you want to use the sports cliche of it was a good loss. They needed this. Blah blah blah. No, look, this is the same thing as when teams started limiting Justin Herbert late last year. One of them being the Patriots, but also there were some other teams. I think Miami or Miami played well. Buffalo limited, or vice versa. It was one of the two, but Miami Buffalo games weren't the best either. But anyway, Justin Herbert bounced back this year because the coaching staff and Justin Herbert and everybody's smart enough to take the adjustments. Now they also had 2 weeks to adjust. It's still, Bill Belichick stops all the great players. So yeah, 31 other teams try to stop the best players too. I'm fine with this. Mike Williams is healthy. That's the biggest part of it. If Mike Williams is healthy, Justin Herbert's going to bounce back.
Yeah, Funston. Same.
Yeah, you've been telling me to move it along, so if I don't have anything to say, I'll just let it roll. I mean, I wanted, you love Mike Williams. I wanted to at least give you the freedom, especially with Mike Williams getting brought up right at the end there. But that's fine. I'm actually going to have to go back to Jake because I saw a decently high ranking for him for Jacoby Myers. So what's the case for Jacoby Myers? And let's hear from you two on this, Funston. Okay.
What's the case? What's the case against Jacoby Myers? He doesn't score touchdowns, but that's fine. He just finishes as a wide receiver 3 almost every single week. He is 8 or 9, I think, almost in every outside of one game. He's got 8 or 9 fantasy points, I think, in double digits in half of them. He's not scoring touchdowns in doing it. So that's all it is. It's Jacoby Myers is Julian Edelman without touchdowns. That's all he is.
Yeah, he's a lesser version of Julian Edelman on the catch side as well. I mean, doesn't get a whole lot of yards either. He's like wide receiver 40 overall on the season, and
with 0 touchdowns.
Yeah,
that's actually kind of remarkable.
But this is 3 years now. I mean, like, what are we gonna all of a sudden that it's just like it unlocks like this flood of touchdowns are coming? Like,
no. I'm in the one that's saying it's not the week. Everybody keeps saying this is the week. This is the week. I'm agreeing with you. This is not the week. This is never the week. But 7 to 8 fantasy points makes you a wide receiver, low end wide receiver 3 every week.
I think he's a mid to high end wide receiver 4. Like, I can't rank him I ranked him, I think, 43 this week. Like, it's a tough.
You
matchup
really hate
too.
Jacoby Myers.
Well, I mean, the Chargers are a legit pass defense as well. I think, like, in a net neutral kind of matchup, you rank him what he is, wide receiver 40. In a tough matchup, you knock him down a couple spots.
You're taking the season ranking, so you just like.
Well, yeah. I mean, you are what you are, kind of. After 7 weeks, I think we got enough context to kind of know who Jacoby Myers is.
Okay. Also, the one area you can attack the Chargers is slot, middle of the field, though, too. Like, that's why I'm down.
I mean, I was kind of overall sort of like that. That didn't jump out at me. Like, maybe you're right, but I don't think it's not an obvious thing.
No, but that's the only. I would say that's the only real damage they're letting up. Like, that's why I'm off Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar. We're trying to play that game.
Yeah.
One of these days, Jacoby Myers is going to find the end zone. Maybe it's finally going to happen this
It'll
weekend
be the week
against
everybody
the
sits
Chargers.
him.
It'll be the weekend. No one has any interest in playing him. Seahawks and Jaguars, the next game on our list here. We hit on the Seahawks a little earlier, so I want to focus on the Jaguars first, and we'll circle back to the Seahawks if we have time. But you guys are both feeling Trevor Lawrence to a certain extent. Brandon at QB 14, Jake at QB 15. So, Brandon, let's hear the case for starting Trevor Lawrence this week.
One, like, running's become a part of his thing. You can start to kind of lean on like 25 to 30 yards. He's called his number at the goal line a bit as well. You look at the Seahawks; they're just terrible. Like, they don't want to compete. I mean, that's just a blanket statement. They are terrible, but, like, specifically, just watch them. Like, they get beat underneath and passing all the time. I just think that, the options that Trevor Lawrence can lean on in the passing game, like with Laviska Shenault short and James Robinson out of the backfield and Dan Arnold, I think Jackson will be very willing to just dink and dunk this thing, and I just think it's going to work out well for Trevor Lawrence. And another thing is Seattle doesn't really get after the quarterback that well, so key for a bad offensive line like Jacksonville is giving Trevor Lawrence time to throw, and I think he'll have it.
Agreed.
Are we firing up all the Jaguars, Jake?
Who includes all the Jaguars? Obviously,
Jamal
Trevor Lawrence,
Agnew?
James.
I guess
I was going. That's like so.
Yeah, Visca
I was going to
Dan
ask.
Arnold.
It was a rhetorical question because I was going to answer my own question. I was going to say, Trevor Lawrence, James Robinson, no question, Marvin Jones. But then I was going to say Laviska, and you could argue Jamal Agnew, Robert Agnew. I like this.
What about
Spiro Agnew? Yeah, let's go down the entire list here. Is that all the Agnews in existence? Yeah,
that's all I know.
But like the thing is Shenault and Agnew's opportunities, snaps, routes, all the times were almost equal those final 2 games. So I say that to say, like, I still think Shenault has a higher ceiling that we're hoping for, and I would start Shenault before starting Agnew. But I don't think Agnew is irrelevant. The real one I love here is Dan Arnold's my tight end sleeper of the week. The 2 games after the first he got 2 targets, caught both of them, but the 2 games that he got right before the bye, it only took him 1 week to get in the mix. He was tied with Agnew and Shenault for team target percentage and opportunities, and that's his 2nd and 3rd game with this team. So I think Dan Arnold's the real nice play if you're looking for a tight end this week.
Yeah, agreed. I think Dan Arnold could also be someone who's like
a
long-term tight end.
By the way, Seattle, number 3 in cover 2 the past 4 weeks.
Bang, bang,
That's what
bang.
I'm saying. All those underneath options you got to love it.
Yeah, it's just... I kind of like the Jaguars pulling the upset in this game. Plus 3.5, they are on the line.
Isn't it an upset? I mean, I know it's an upset line, but at this point, it's an upset.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there is very little difference between a Russell Wilson-less Seahawks team and the Jaguars. I think that's a fact.
Especially when the Jaguars have a much better quarterback.
Much better quarterback who seems to have rounded a corner over the last couple of weeks as well. So I like the Jaguars to get a win in this game. Broncos and Washington, our next game up. Jerry Jeudy's return. Are we just getting them right back in there, Funston?
Yeah, I mean, I think you listen to what the Denver narrative is like. They had a great rapport between him and Teddy Bridgewater, and we saw that right out of the gate before he got hurt. So, yeah, I'm getting him right back in there. You're shaking your head, Jake, like you don't want to get him right back in there. Why not? I mean, Jerry Jeudy's a talented guy.
Because it's
gives him
his
a little
first
bit
game
something
back.
different.
Like, is it a full complement of snaps? Tim Patrick's, been too good where they don't have to force the issue. Like, we don't have to force Jerry. Like, if this was a definitive playoff team, they didn't have Tim Patrick. Cortland Sutton was banged up. Like, okay, yes, but they have Agwuahama is coming back. So, like, it's just there's 8 billion options for this team, which is a good thing for real life. But that's why. It's because you don't have to force them back. You don't have to force them the ball. It is a great matchup because the Washington secondary is beyond abysmal. But, I am at 41, which is what you talked about before, consensus. It's like way under consensus at 8. But, I'm starting Shenault and Shepard and Corey Davis and Waddle, and that's really what comes to even Cole Beasley. Like, it's just, I know those guys are going to be out there the entire time and used. I think that Jeudy has a higher ceiling than most all of them. Could I see Jeudy finish as top 25? No question about it. I just don't know if they have to force the issue, and it's similar to T.Y. Hilton's first game back with the Colts.
Well, Denver's been terrible, and Vic Fangio's playing for his job. And if Jerry Jeudy's healthy, I think they're playing him. I think they're going to lean on him as much as they need to win this game.
All right, guys, 30 seconds tops between the two of you, 15 seconds apiece. Any realistic scenario in which you'd sit Antonio Gibson?
Who's going first?
Funston.
Look, this is rankings. I have him ranked as like a back end RB2, and he's really only got touchdown upside at this point. It's like he's not going to be involved in the passing game. So, yeah, I mean, it comes down to what you have.
That felt longer than 15 seconds.
No, I was counting.
Yes.
Seconds.
If you have a top 20 option at running back, yes, you are sitting him. That simple.
There you go. See, Jake, you're the freaking man. I love that. Right there. Because we got to get one more ad in before we talk about our last couple of games. And that comes from BetterHelp. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Check out BetterHelp.com/AFF. The best way to think about therapy is through a bunch of analogies. We get our cars tuned up to prevent bigger issues down the road. We get annual checkups and go to the gym to maintain physical wellness and prevent injury and disease. Going to therapy, it's like all of these. It's routine maintenance for your mental and emotional wellness to prevent bigger issues down the road. Going to therapy doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means you're investing in yourself to keep your mind healthy. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in less than 48 hours. Why invest in everything else but not your mind? This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/AFF. That's BetterHelp.com/AFF. All right, guys, Saints and Buccaneers, next game that I want to talk about here. Me and Jake were joking about this before we got going here. Saints were kind of Brady's bugaboo last year. There's the whole Mike Evans gets shut down by Marshawn Lattimore narrative that everyone loves to go down. I don't see any concern with any of these Buccaneers. I assume you guys are on the same page, right, Jake?
100% on the same page, yeah, and that's why we were joking around about it. Look, I will say this. The Saints defense has been great. It was already really good against the run. It had been solid against the pass, even without Lattimore, and Lattimore came back looking like the Lattimore of, 2 years ago, where he was like, oh, my God, who's facing Lattimore this year, this week? And not even Mike Evans. It was just every single week. It was like the Jair Alexander. It was like, oh, my God, who's going up against him? And he's back to that. So, yeah, does he limit Mike Evans? Honestly, I would, kidding aside, if Antonio Brown was healthy, I would be a little bit concerned about Mike Evans in this game. But he's not. And it's really coming down to Tom Brady is just not slowing down. Even a down game from Tom Brady would still be good for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
I mean, I am looking at the history of Lattimore and Evans, and I have dropped Evans down to 15 this week, but that's probably as low as I can go. Yeah, I mean that, which doesn't really knock him out of the I'm not starting Mike Evans how much we range. So
this was one I jumped on right away. This on Monday. This was sitting at before the Saints played on Monday Night Football. This was sitting at Buccaneers -4.5. It's now up to Buccaneers -5.5 on BetMGM. Which I mean, yeah.
Which Mike would you take, Funston? Your Williams or Evans?
I'm taking Williams. But it's close. I think I have Williams at 12 and Evans at 15.
Okay.
Your team Evans?
No, I think I am like back to back. That's why I was just curious.
Okay.
Hey, you know it's going to be a really fun game for fantasy, you guys? Sunday night, Cowboys and Vikings. I mean, just think of the way these teams play and just the sure things on both sides of this game, right? So, I mean, just Jefferson and Thielen and CD and Amari Cooper and Zeke and Delvin Cook. I mean, it's going to be great. Dak Prescott, obviously, there's not a whole lot to think about in this game other than how many points are my dudes going to get me in it. But I think there are two decent questions. So, Funston, why don't you take the first one and Jake take the second one? Funston, Kirk Cousins, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, thumbs up. Yeah, it's weirdly, I get that vibe too. A lot of points. I just feel like this is going to be a shootout, and Kirk Cousins, his floor is pretty solid. Is it 2 touchdowns or is it 3 touchdowns? And that's probably the difference between him being a mid-teen quarterback and him being a top 10 quarterback. But I think he'll be solid.
Jake, let me get in because not everyone's watching us on YouTube, so they can't see that it says on the screen that the second one is Tony Pollard. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Oh, well, if anybody knows and followed the Twitter account that I have out there, Tony Pollard's the number 1 running back in all football, so there's no question about it. There's just like, you start him over Christian McCaffrey when Christian McCaffrey is healthy. So that's the truth. Minnesota's actually been pretty good against the run. They're a little bit better than middle of the pack, so I'm only saying that to say, yeah, Tony Pollard, look, there's 2 teams on a bye. I want to get crazy. I think he's the better version of Samaje Perine, so he's still an RB3.
Again, consistent work, but still he
Yes.
has to find his way behind Zeke. There's no question about that. This is going to be, we've had these games fall flat for us before. I do not think this is the case. I think if you're invested in Cowboys Vikings, you're going to be very happy with what you get. We're going to have a lot of fantasy matchups decided on Sunday Night Football. Could have plenty decided on Monday Night Football, also between the Chiefs and the Giants. What are we doing with these Giants injuries, though, guys? Because there's a good chance we're not going to have clarity on Shepard, maybe on Kenny Golladay. So how do we handle that, Jake? And then what does that do for Daniel Jones?
Yeah, it's look, you're going to have to make a decision before Monday night, unless there might be teams out there. That's the one thing, is because Mecole Hardman's in this game. You might have a Mecole Hardman, Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard, Kenny Golladay. Like, there are options in this game where you could have waited. I mean, even if you want to go pick up Darius Slayton, if you have a Shepard and you want to pick up Slayton and hold and wait. But there's a lot of options this week where you don't really have to wait if we don't have clarity. Thursday night, throw Thursday night out. I'm saying if we don't have, we'll know on Saturday, so we'll know before Sunday. If we don't have clarity, though, and Sterling Shepard's a game-time decision, anybody's a game-time decision. You can't wait without a backup plan. Like, don't wait on Sterling Shepard if your backup plan is C.J. Board. Like, you can't go that far.
Funston, same thoughts from you on that?
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like in terms of like ranking like a Daniel Jones, like there's 3 wide receivers we're waiting for. I'm feeling like one of them's going to emerge as a guy that will play. So I'm not looking at this as Darius Slayton, John Ross, and Dante Pettis again. I feel like one of those guys will emerge to help out in the charge for the Giants.
All right, guys, last question I got for you, and it concerns this game. Earlier this week, we talked about the Daryl Williams buy window. What happens to it after this game? Is it slammed shut? Is it still open? What do we think, Funston?
Yeah, I don't know how interested I am in buying anyways, even on a buy low. I mean, CEH will come back. I'm not the biggest Daryl Williams fan. I'm not the biggest usage fan of the way the Chiefs have used their running back position. I think Daryl Williams is just solid. He's unspectacular, lacks imagination, and he needs his best will be when the but this will probably be a setup where Daryl Williams will have one of those games we saw a couple weeks ago. He could score a couple touchdowns. He could get some decent yardage. He can get some actual carries in this game because it's a Giant. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to try to buy low before Sunday on Daryl Williams, knowing that the short window of playing time left as like the clear number 1 guy, yeah, go ahead, because after the Giants game, the price should be a lot higher.
I got a list of players I'm tweeting about Brandon Funston after this. And telling him he's like less imagination than a kid. He's stupid. Look at that.
Maybe Daryl Williams.
It'll be lost on me. You know how active I am on Twitter.
Daryl Williams is writing the Great American Novel right now as we speak.
The buy low window, yes, will be closed because I'm going to completely disagree with Funston on one thing. I don't think the window is closed because I'm going back to Chuba Hubbard. I'm done. I don't want to say done. I don't think people should keep playing this game of, well, this person's going to come back. Christian McCaffrey was going to come back, and he didn't. Saquon Barkley's still not necessarily coming back. We're talking David Montgomery might come back into a timeshare. If Daryl Williams shows off again against the Giants, what if Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes back and he's the 40% to Daryl Williams' 60%? So I don't like. I say all this to say where I know I'll agree with Brandon is I'm not going to overpay for him. I'm not going to treat him as a top 15, 20 running back in a trade. Yeah. But I am absolutely trying to trade for him because what if he's Chuba Hubbard for 6 more weeks? What if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is just not ready when he's supposed to be off the IR?
It's a very worthy question to be asking yourself going into this week and maybe coming out of it as well. That's going to do it, guys. I freaking loved this format. We're going to be sticking with it. Thanks to everyone for joining us on this maiden voyage of trying something new halfway through the season. We always try to keep things fresh and spicy, so hopefully we did that for you here on this episode of the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast. For Jake, for Funston, I'm Beller. We will be talking to you very soon. Enjoy the start to Week 8 tonight. Have a great weekend. Let's all go out there, get some W's this week. We'll see you later.